Hi guys, it's Mrs. C here with Cycle 2, Week 1. I'm so excited to be back. I hope you've had an awesome summer, and we will kind of jump right in. If you haven't been here before, welcome. So glad you're here. If you've been here in previous years, these videos are going to be a little different in that used to be I would do my community day, I would come home and I would record and just talk about what I had done as a tutor for that day, and just to give you guys some ideas. But this year I'm going to try to do them early so that they're there and available for those of you who are starting earlier than us or don't have the same breaks that we do. So I'm hopeful that this week, which is the first week of August, that I'll be able to get out the first 6 weeks to you. And then in a few weeks, once we kind of get going, I'm hopeful to get out the second 6 weeks so that at least the first semester is available. And then probably over Christmas break, I'll try to get out the third quarter, and then sometime, it depends on how basketball is going, I'll try to get out the last quarter early so that they're there for you guys. So with that, let's get started. If you know me, you know I generally always start with geography. It doesn't matter the age, and I like to do that because I can have everybody's trivium table or placemat, whatever you're using, out in the class. If you're using dry erase markers, I can just have all of that laid out and I don't have to waste class time doing that. I also, for the younger kids, tend to pre-trace the maps. So if you have the younger class and this is your first time, it's a really awesome idea to do that if you can. Not this past year. This past year I had the masters, but the year before I had a younger class, and my kids would help me trace the locations as I was setting up for class in the morning. So it didn't really take me any extra time. They would each pick a location and a color of a dry erase marker and just run and walk around the table and do that. It's okay. You can say hi. Say hi, Livy. It's Livy's birthday today.
It's my name.
What? Can you tell them how old you are? 3.
No, I'm 2 miles.
No, you're 3 now. You're 3 today.
I'm 2 miles.
You're 2 tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, you're gonna go back to being 2?
Oh,
You went to the library today, yes. Okay, can you go play with Sissy while I finish my video?
okay.
Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, you can play in a little while. Sorry about that. So, I'd have my kids go around the table, each with a dry erase marker, and just pick a location and color that in. So if you have some helpers in the morning, you could do that. We have a lot of locations on this very first week, but the good thing about them is they're kind of large locations, so hopefully you won't have to spend a lot of time like pointing to where they are. And if you have an older class, they might already know where all of them are. But we have our continents and our oceans. So I don't have a cute song or anything for these. I don't typically do song with geography, but if you like songs, there is CC Happy Mom. She has songs for all of the geography. They're great. Sometimes they are a little too many words to try to learn them on class day, but it might be good to point your parents to that as a resource if they're a family that enjoys music for their memory work. So generally what I like to do is I just start from left to right on my map, and I will just go in order of the continents from left to right, and then I'll do the oceans from left to right. And after a couple times going over them, then I might start intermixing them. So starting with the Pacific Ocean, then doing North, South America, and then the Atlantic Ocean, and continue moving across the map and mixing them. But initially I will probably just start out with the continents and then the oceans so they don't get too confused. This year I guess some of the oldest ones would technically be masters, but they're like young masters and journeymen this year. So I will be doing some things like a little bit more, I'm going to try to make it a little more purposeful as far as like, some of them I know are going to be going for memory masters. So I want to be really good about helping them be prepared for that, just starting out of the gate. I will be doing maybe asking a few extra questions and just trying to engage a little bit more because the majority of my class has been in CC for many years. So I want to make sure that it's engaging for all of them. So anyway, that is all I will do for geography. If you have youngers, this would be a good week because they are larger locations. If you want to bring Like I like to use Hatchimals or little erasers or any kind of little figures. This is a good week for that because they will fit on all the spots on the map and you can have them move around. You can go swimming in all the oceans. You can have your little animals play hopscotch from the continents, all kinds of things like that. So that's what I will do for geography. So that after geography, I'm going to go to math. So like I said, I'm going to have a mixture of ages. So half of my kids are going to need to do the times tables and actually say them all out, and the other half could still do skip counting. So that's probably how I will divide my time. If you have all masters, you're technically supposed to do all multiplication tables the whole time. Regardless of the age, you need to be writing out the full multiplication tables on your board. But because I have a split, I will probably split it a little bit. Plus, that will just be helpful on time because saying the full multiplication table for 2 multiplication tables for 7 times takes a lot of time. So if you have masters and you're doing that, just be prepared that that's going to take a bigger chunk of time than your 4 minutes. So you might want to figure out where you can make that up. Latin tends to be a good place to make it up just because it repeats so many weeks that I feel like, especially the second time you're doing the Latin, the second week that you're doing it, it doesn't end up taking the full 4 minutes to do it. So anyway, you have the 1s and the 2s this week. So pretty easy, easy right in there to math. If you have little kids, it's a great time to just let them count to 15 and just praise them that they already know their first piece of memory work. How great is that? If you are doing skip counting with the song, for me, what I would do is have them all written up on my board. We would go through the 1s a few times, and then I would introduce the 2s song. And I would, after the first time through, I would circle 2 to 3 numbers. And as we sing through it again, I would jump when we say the number that's circled. So, for example, if I had circled number 8, I would say 2, 4, 6, and on 8, we would all jump. 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Let's say I circled 16, we would jump. 16, 18, 20. So for everyone you circle, you jump. Leave those circled, and then I would circle a few more the next time through. So then we would be jumping for those. So a lot of times, especially with the younger ones, by the end, I like to have almost all of them circled, and then I act like they've really worn me out. And they think that's really funny to wear me out. So that's what I would do for math. For the older ones, when you are doing the full times table, or the full equation, excuse me, I would try to break it up by doing them in between subjects. So it can get really tedious, especially when you get into the upper numbers, to do them all 7 times in a row. Now, there are occasions that I've done that, but I find that it would be good to, say you're going to move from English to Latin. In between English and Latin, really quick, try to get through a whole set of the multiplication tables while you're transitioning in between the two. While you're collecting all your geography maps and things, go through a whole multiplication table. That just kind of breaks it up, and it helps you get through and in those times when you're already having some lost time for transition. So if you do decide that you would like to do them all together, I would suggest setting a timer and having the class see how fast they can get through them. And I would just put the caveat on them that they have to actually say in a way that is understandable the full equation. So they can't just be going like that, or they're just mumbling, like they have to actually be saying it. That would be a suggestion that I would have. Since it's 1s and 2s, they're pretty easy this week. I wouldn't bring any props or anything extra in for math. I would save those for latter weeks. For English, we've got our 8 parts of speech. I will be doing the chant that I learned my very first year in CC and that we still use to this day, and we use it in Essentials, and I've used it multiple times. So I will demonstrate it for you now and then tell you ways you can switch it up. So you just do a pat, so 2 hands patting on your legs or the floor or the table, wherever is convenient, but pat, clap is all the rhythm that you need. So you go 8 parts of speech, 8 parts of speech. Noun, pronoun, verb, adverb, conjunction, interjection, preposition, adjective. So we've done that for years. So if you don't do the clapping, it goes 8 parts of speech, 8 parts of speech. Noun, pronoun, verb, adverb, conjunction, interjection, preposition, adjective. So I would have those all written up on the board, of course, maybe point to them as you are saying them. If your class already kind of knows that chant, maybe you try doing it really fast. 8 parts of speech, 8 parts of speech. See how fast you can do it? Maybe you do it really slow-mo where you're like 8 parts of speech, just to really, change it up for them. Maybe you try to say them backwards, since if they know the chant, sometimes switching up and saying it backwards makes your brain really think about it again. Do the boys, have the boys do it, have the girls do it. Maybe have one side of the room do the rhythm, the other side of the room do the chant, and then switch them. All kinds of different ways you could do that. So that's what I'll be doing for English. For history, we have Charlie Magna, as I jokingly say, but we have Charlemagne. The song is very solemn and depressing sounding. So we'll probably listen to it. It's easy to learn. That's the nice thing about it. I will have it written on the board, of course, and I will probably just do the erase a few words each time through. It's not terribly long, so going through it multiple times isn't going to take too long, and listening to the song won't take too much time. And there's a lot of important words that are going to erase. So I would probably erase the year. I would probably erase the word medieval, either Pope or Leo, or I might erase both of them. I would erase crowned, Charlemagne, probably Roman, and Europe at least. So sometimes if they're really getting it, I will just have it all erased by the end of it. So that's what I will do for history for this week. There are some good hand motions that you can do for this one too. You can find those on the Facebook tutor page. Someone has hand motions kind of written out, I think, for all of the history sentences. So I would just kind of look those up on there. I don't tend to use hand motions as much for history, only because I find that with the song with history, that gives me an extra tool in my bag for presenting history sentences than I have in some of the other bags of different strands. So I tend to try to save hand motions for other strands that I don't have as many tools to use. So for Latin, our Latin this year, you're gonna do it week 1 and week 2, and then you'll have a new one for week 3 and week 4 if you haven't previewed that yet. So our Latin this week will repeat next week. I will probably take a minute, because my class is older, and just point out to them that these are first conjugations, endings, present tense, and what we see on one side of the board is a bunch of pronouns, which we'll be spending a lot of time on pronouns in our English later this year. So just point out that these are all the different pronouns. They're going to repeat every week. So our pronouns are all going to say this, well, not every week, but they're going to repeat a few times. We're going to have I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they, and then we'll have I was, you were. So they're going to change a little bit, but it's still the same pronouns in the same order every week. So with the endings I have printed, you can find these on CC Connected, which everyone has access to now. Hooray! I can share all the things. These are under Latin cue cards. I found the best thing to do is go in, log into your account, and go into the forum area, and then there's a little search, and that's the way I found is the easiest to find things. I've tried just searching through and I get a little lost, so I've just been typing in exactly what I'm looking for, and I found pretty good success with that. So they have these awesome cue cards. This has a present on it for present tense, and it has the beginning of it. And there's one for each of our Latin endings that we'll be learning. And then it also has this paper with kind of the cue, explaining the cue. So for example, we have a present on there because it's present tense, and our first part of the conjugation is O. And so, oh, a present for me? So that helps us remember present tense, O, a present, so it's gonna be OST. I really like those, especially with having Memory Master students, just to try to start giving them some good clues and cues for helping remember when they get to their testing which one is which. I've always struggled with those, and I'm really excited to have these and help me remember. So there's one of those for each week. Again, if you go to CC Connected, look up Latin cue cards, it should pop right up and you can print them. So I will have those available for my students to see. Then we'll just chant through it. Remember, if you are doing the chant, I believe in this year's chants, you're saying them 4 times. So doing the chant twice, you are getting your all 7 times in. So don't feel like you have to do the chant 7 times because you don't. So we will probably just make sure they've got that down, and then I'll wait next week and probably incorporate hot potato or duck duck goose or something next week, since it won't be brand new to them next week. Let's see, do that science. So science is slightly different for our first week. Typically we just have like a list. This is a list, but there are multiple things in each part of the list. So I will probably do some hand motions to help us remember each of those sections. So this one, also the answer is a little weird. So it's what occurred on each day of creation. You don't say on each day of creation occurred. Like, for example, week 2 will say, what are some land biomes? And then you would respond, some land biomes are. So we don't respond exactly the same way for this one. So just make sure you take a minute and listen to the app or the CD to make sure you're saying the correct response. So we have day 1 is Earth, Space, Time, and Light. So I will probably tap on my watch to help us remember time, to go along with time, and we'll tap 4 times and say Earth, Space, Time, Light. That's probably what I will do for that one. So Earth, Space, Time, Light. Atmosphere, I'll probably just wave my hands kind of through the air for atmosphere, which is day 2. Day 3 is dry land and plants. So I'll probably do an arm flat for land, and then like kind of have my other arm come up through for plants. Sun, moon, and stars, I will probably just kind of put my hand up in the air. Sorry, you can't see it. Put my hand up like this and wave for the sun. We've got the moon, and then like this for the stars. We have fish, and I'll probably just say fish and sea creatures together, and then the birds. And then land animals and Adam and Eve. I couldn't think of a great way to do land animal. I mean, I guess you could do like a bunny. Wow, that is a really special bunny. Is that a bunny? Is that how you do a bunny? Anyway, that doesn't look right on that way, but anyway, I was thinking maybe this. There you go. I was thinking you could do that, but then I thought I will just probably, again, do this for land. So we have land animals and Adam and Eve, and we'll do fingers walking for Adam and Eve being people. So I will do those. We'll go over them a few times. Once I go over them a few times, I like to go around the room and let each student do a motion and the class try to identify the motion. So I'll introduce them, and then I'll say, so-and-so, why don't you pick one to do? And so maybe they will do, and then the class will go, oh, day 4, sun, moon, and stars. That's kind of how I will do that when I do hand motions. I let them mix it up towards the end. So, okay, I think our last thing is timeline. So for timeline, in my class, I probably won't be doing hand motions too much. Most of my class has been in CC for multiple years, so they will be very familiar with the timeline by this point. And I find that once you're very familiar with the timeline, you don't tend to use the hand motions as much. But if you have a younger class, I would suggest just doing a really quick introduction, just showing them, and then moving on to however else you want to introduce the timeline. Just to expose parents to that, because they are good to use at home, especially those first 3 years when you're trying to get the timeline down and the melody repeats and you get confused sometimes and you get mixed up. Having the hand motions can help with that. So I will do them for you. I will try to do them for all the weeks so that you have them. They are available on CC Connected. If you go into the, it's not the forum, it's the Learning Center. I think that's what it's called, Learning Center. And then you can go through, there's like the each week in the foundations area. And if you click on the specific week, there will be the whole timeline broken up into chunks, and there'll be the full timeline. And then you can find that week specific hand motions timeline. So that's where those are located now. But I will show you the ones for week 1. So we have Age of Ancient Empires, and you're gonna kind of like, you're grabbing and stroking your very long ancient beard. Then you have creation. So creation, you're just going to kind of come up like this. I like to think of like the tree of life as being created. So creation, and then our hands are going to fall. So just straight down like this. And then keeping our hands here, we're going to bring them up like this. This is the flood. And then 2 hands facing each other going straight up in the Tower of Babel. Then we have Mesopotamia and Sumer. So we're gonna cross our fingers to make R's. And then we're gonna do our hands kind of just like they're riding a roller coaster. And this is the sign for rivers. Obviously Mesopotamia and Sumer weren't rivers, but they were civilizations that were, that occurred. I don't know. We're in between the Tigris and the Euphrates. That's where we're going to go. I don't know the right word there. Created isn't the right word either. Established. There we go. Between the Tigris and the Euphrates. So this is our Tigris and the Euphrates, and there are rivers going. And then we have Egyptians. We're going to take our finger, kind of curl it, put it up to our forehead. If you've seen pictures of the Egyptians, sometimes they had the bands that had like a little snake head right there, and that's what that's representing. And then because there's time, you have to also go like this, but that's just something that I added. Then we're gonna have the Indus River Valley Civilization. You'll notice throughout the timeline motions, anytime we talk about India, we point here to the middle of our head, and that is to be indicative of the bindi dot that is traditional in a lot of Indian culture. So we're gonna point here, and then rivers again. Those are 2 R's going up and down roller coaster. And then we have Minoans and Mycenaeans. So we're gonna make, this is a Y, and it's gonna go up to our ear and go down. We're gonna do this motion a ton with the timeline. This is the sign for gold. So yellow being the color, and up by our ear kind of indicating like jewelry worn in the ear is how you get gold. So these were rich civilizations. So the Minoans and the Mycenaeans, we're gonna bring this hand around and hit. And I don't know why we do that, but we do that, and that's what we've always done, and I've never questioned it because it just goes with the song. You could probably watch the timeline video and she will explain everything much better than I will, but then you have to go and find her, and I'm here. So Minoans and Mycenaeans. So that's everything for new grammar. I will quickly go over just a few tips for fine arts and science. For science, I found this really cool principle that I'm gonna probably use with my class to go over the scientific method, because we are doing experiments for the first, I think it's at least the first 6 weeks of class. If you refer on your guide to page 129, it has the scientific method discussion sheet. It looks like this, and it has listed out the CC scientific method. It is slightly different than the one that I learned in high school, but also at the same time not crazy different. But you might just want to introduce that to your kids, especially if you have older ones, that this is kind of the steps that we are walking through when we do an experiment. And so I have these, if I have younger ones, I have these all cut out, and I like to kind of put them up on the board as we talk through and say, look, we've talked about our observations. We've asked, what's our questions we need answered? What do we think is going to happen with this experiment? Okay, what do we need to do for our experiment? And because we're using Van Cleves right now, I like to, if you have reading students, have them, somebody read me all the materials, and we're going to check off that we have all of our materials we need, because if we don't have a material, we can't do the experiment, right? And then, okay, what's our first step? Can someone read me the first step from the book? And just have them kind of be involved in actually reading and doing the experiment, rather than you just kind of knowing what to do and doing it. I find it helps. It also helps with some of these because they're kind of short, and so it helps them take up a little more time. Okay, so that's all for science. Hopefully you've gone over all of your science experiments with your director. For fine arts, our campus, I believe, is going to be using the Inside the Lines lessons. She has a YouTube channel and a website and has amazing lessons. And for my class specifically, she just dives in a lot deeper into the whys and hows and the mechanics of all of it. And I have a lot of artistic students in my class, so I want to honor their talents by doing a good job with the art section this year. If you have younger students, and even if you have older ones and maybe they just aren't a class that's as into art, there are 2 people on Facebook, on the Facebook tutor page, who have uploaded files that are great, and I might incorporate some of these too, because they were really cute and cycle specific files. Their names are Lori Gillis Shorter and Rebecca Loves Skillen. So they both have files on there. You just go to the tutor page and click on the files, and you should be able to look down and find their names, and they have all 6 weeks of fine arts uploaded. There's also a, I guess you call it a cheat sheet for the drawing with children that helps you line up the pages in Drawing with Children that apply to the drawing portion of the cycle. Well, it's every cycle really, so that if you want to use that as more of a guide, if you're trying to, with the older kids, like I said, go in a little deeper and make sure you're really leading, or if you're just really not sure how to lead fine arts, the Drawing with Children is super helpful for that. And I would point out in my guide, it points you back to page 80 and 81. That's in the cycle 1 section, but it applies every cycle. And that just goes over what they're trying to accomplish with each section of the drawing portion of the fine arts. So the last thing I will show you is for a presentation, because it's the first week and you have more time. I have this really fun principle. I'm pretty sure I got it off of Pinterest. I've had it for a really long time, but there are tons of different things like this, so you don't have to have this one. It's a really good time to take a minute and go over what you want in a presentation. Some of the kids have never seen a good presentation or don't know what a presentation is. And as a tutor, your job is to model. And sometimes the parents don't even know what you're wanting for presentation. All they may have had is like show and tell in kindergarten. So prepare a presentation yourself. And I like to present it terribly and do just a terrible job, and then have the kids point out to me like what all the things that I did wrong, and then do a really good presentation so that they can kind of see the difference and start paying attention to what they're doing with their hands, what they're doing with their body. If they're talking too quiet, if they're talking too fast and you can't understand what they're saying, just kind of show them some of those skills that they can be working on through presentation. And also talk to them about being good listeners. So presentation has 2 parts. We have the speaking part and the listening part, and how do we do both of those well? This is a great week because you have extra time to really take a few minutes and go over both of those concepts. So having something like this is very useful, visual, especially for the younger ones. I used to go over what our eyes, ears, mouth, hands, feet, body, face, and our heart are doing. So this is called whole body listening. Somewhere down on the bottom, it says where it's from, but it's really blurry and I can't tell, but I found it on Pinterest. Just look up whole body listening. The last thing, I promise, I'm sorry this video is so long. All About Me page is a good suggestion to bring in for this week, because you're not going to have a ton of time you're not going to have a ton of things to review, so you're going to have a ton of review time. So it's a good time to maybe do an All About Me page or some type of extra thing to help you get to know your students a little bit better, especially if you haven't had the students in your class before. Maybe find out what their favorite subject is, or what their favorite strand of memory work is, or their favorite part of CC, favorite color. That can just help you as you prep throughout the rest of the year if you're wanting to do something special for them. And so it's a good week to have that. I think for my class, I'm gonna have them create a coat of arms. Is it coat or code? A coat? I thought it was a coat, but now I'm questioning myself. Is it code? A shield. I'm gonna have them create a shield. I saw a cute one that was divided into parts, and I think I'm gonna each let them decorate a part, and then we're gonna put together and have it to represent our class for this cycle. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. I promise the next few videos will not be so long. But anyway, I should be back soon with week 2. I would, like I said, try to get all the rest of the first 6 weeks uploaded within the next few days so that you guys have those. I hope you have a wonderful start to your year. Sorry. Hope you have a wonderful start to your year, and I pray many blessings upon you and your class. Thank you. Bye.